my good friend and my photographer, Morgan Nesbitt, here with me. Hey, Morgan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So Morgan is one of my good friends, as well as he does a lot of my photos for my personal branding. And I've had a couple of photographers on the show already, because I think everyone knows how important I think photography is for your brand, because the only logo that you're going to see through your whole life is this thing here, your face. So I wanted to chat with Morgan, because obviously we can get into a bit of the process of what we do for my brand, but also what's Morgan's brand like, how did he get started, etc. So Morgan, tell us, when you were 15, sitting in the classroom, what did you think you were going to do?
I actually thought I was going to be a professional skateboarder. Yeah, as a teenager, that's all I did, was I just skateboarded.
Oh my God, I love that.
So I'd tell my mum and dad that literally I just want to skate every day. I don't want to go to school. I just want to go to the skate parks and just skate and become a pro.
Well, some people do, so, you know.
Yeah, so shoot for the stars, I guess. But yeah, didn't quite work out that way. So
you do still skate, though, don't you?
Yeah. I still skate. It's more of just a means of transportation now between sort of locations, or if I want to get somewhere a little bit quicker or something like that, I just jump on the skateboard and use that.
I think that's brilliant. I remember trying to get on a skateboard. I was just a kid and had to sit on it because I just couldn't stand and move at the same time. So yeah, it's a lot harder than it looks.
A lot harder, especially as you get older too.
Morgan is a personal brand photographer, but he's also a product photographer, and you do a lot of street photography. And I want to talk about that, because how you really got into photography, and that's where your passion really started. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do late at night and early in the morning.
Well, I started my photography journey, with street photography. That's sort of how I taught myself photography, because as starting out, as with most things, I was you get very shy in wanting to approach people or ask people for help, or to use people for models or anything like that. So because I used to work in the city and I would skate through work down like William Street into the main CBD, I'd stop and I'd just start taking photos, first on my phone, and then I just bought like a DSLR, and I'd just practice all night. I'd just stay in like laneways, I'd go to rooftops, I'd go everywhere in between, and I would practice like the different camera settings, the different exposures. Like I'd learn the camera through just trial and error. And then I sort of built up into like approaching people on the street, whether that be people just leaving work, even like homeless people, because I started like a little project, sort of like a Humans of New York kind of thing, but it was more like Humans of Perth. And that's how I built up my confidence, and that's how I learned how to take like portrait photos and things like that. I didn't really have a teacher besides, spending all night and all morning before work and after work just taking photos of anything and everything in the city. So, and I was just naturally drawn to street photography. I don't know if that has anything, well, I think it does actually, more to do with like my skateboarding sort of background, because obviously skateboarding everywhere. I'd go to the city, I'd go literally all around Perth to skate. So I don't know if that had a bit of an effect subtly on my preferred style of photography. But yeah, that's how I got started with everything. So all started there.
You need to check out Morgan's Instagram, because he's got some incredible pictures of places all around Perth that you probably won't even recognize, because you take them from an angle that people just aren't seeing. You know, even the train station. I've seen some of your pictures. I've gone, is that the train station? And it's just, we're too busy on our phones. We're too busy like chatting away that we don't actually see the city in the way that someone who's through your lens, I guess, which is really interesting. One of the first conversations when I first caught up with Morgan was around the street photography and the stuff around homeless people, and I thought it was really interesting because, you know, that's where we got chatting about the Humans of New York and how there was a lot of similarities, because you really are telling a story of the city after dark, because it's, you know, about, if anyone's been to Perth, it gets to about 7-8 o'clock at night and it's pretty much dead, because there's not in the city after work's finished. Friday drinks is probably the extent of it, and then, you know, Saturday night it starts to come alive again with a younger crowd, etc. But there's a lot of dark in the city, and you've really captured that. Can you tell us a bit about the changes you've seen since you've been taking pictures on the streets?
So for the last, I'd probably say 5 years, give or take, when I sort of started venturing into the city, I don't really want to rag on Perth or anything like that, but the sort of progression of the amount of like homeless people in our CBD has like just increased dramatically. Like once people leave, like general people leave from work and it becomes empty, it's like you said, it's a completely different world. The streets are flooded with homeless people. It's something sort of like out of like a horror movie in a way. Like I was in the city last night and I was using one of the toilets in the car park, and there's syringes on top of the wash bay area with like the bent spoon that they use to, and it's like, I mean, that's the first time I've even ever seen anything like that. And it's just getting worse. And I think that not enough is being done by sort of our government or anything like that to either help these people or to put sort of steps in place to make it safer for other people. And I just sort of thought, I mean, it's, again, just to me or to a lot of people, it's taking photos, but it's a hope in a way that my photos that I take of Perth and like homeless people or people in need kind of thing can help spread awareness of how bad it's actually getting. Like it's to try and open people's eyes and to get them to think a little bit differently of the situation that's happening in our city. And it's not to, obviously, I mean, I cop a bit of slack for it for doing it, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just again, spread that awareness that we do have a problem in our city, and that I think either the government and even us as a community need to do something to just try and help. So
I think it's a case of shoot the messenger. You know, you are the messenger there. You're highlighting a problem that we have got in the streets. And to be quite honest, it's not a problem that's unique to Perth. It's you know, and to be honest, I think COVID's probably made things a little bit worse given the situation. And also because, you know, in Perth, we're lucky we're out and about and stuff, so we see things. But a lot of cities, there'll be people that don't realise what's actually going on in their streets now because they're not out, they're in lockdown. So they're not seeing that impact.
Yeah, or they just go home as soon as it's kind of cool but funny, but as soon as like that 5 o'clock buzzer hits, it's like you just look at the train stations and the bus station and the people just like piling in just to go home. Like it's just, they just want to get in and get out kind of thing. And it's once all those people leave, it becomes somewhere a lot different. So I think if people sort of it's again a sort of a quote by one of my favorite musicians, and he goes, just tilt your head a little differently and you start seeing things differently. And once you do that, you see what's actually really going on. So
yeah, I think what was really powerful for me when we were talking about this originally was the fact that, you know, you get early in the morning when people start arriving for work, you were, you know, because you were looking at the world differently, you were seeing them move from their, you know, temporary homes and just fade into, like, they were still there, but we just didn't see them anymore. We're overlooking it. So I know you're very passionate about this and we could spend all morning talking about it, but we'll move on. So now you're more focused, obviously commercially, that's your passion project, but commercially you're more focused on the personal branding stuff and product stuff. In particular, do you want to talk about the Kraken photoshoot that you've done?
So well, the Christmas just gone. I got given a bottle of Kraken as just a bit of a Christmas gift. I'm not really much of a drinker. Like I've actually still got the bottle. So there's the bottle still full. I haven't even touched it. And so I got given, because they asked obviously, what my favorite kind of drink is, and it is Kraken, even though I don't really drink it. And so
just to look at. It's nice to look at.
Yeah, it's nice to look at on my cabinet. And so I thought, like, it literally was just a nice summer afternoon, like clear blue skies. It was just so nice. And I just thought I'd thought I'd just go to the beach and just sort of start taking photos of a bottle of Kraken, because I like that concept of like the Kraken rises like from the depths. And I think I was watching around the same time Pirates of the Caribbean, and I think it's like number 2 where like the Kraken does come out and claim the ship. So I was kind of inspired by that a little bit. And yeah, so I just went down to Trig Beach. It's got some nice like rocks and with the waves crash against the rocks and stuff like that. And I'll literally just mount the bottle of Kraken in different areas around the beach and start taking photos of it. And on the rocks, so the waves are like crashing into the back of the bottle. So it's like the Kraken rising from like the depths of the ocean kind of thing. And ever since then, I've just been like spamming Kraken to like acknowledge my existence. And it was only yesterday, it took literally 4 months, nearly 3-4 months, that they actually liked my photo and my reel that I put up on my business.
Amazing. Breakthrough.
So I broke through. So now I got to keep working on them to try and like, you know, and I've put them the images to use and stuff like that. But yeah, that was just a fun little product photo shoot with the bottle of Kraken.
They're really cool photos. Again, you need to go and check out Morgan's profile to see all of these pictures as well. So as part of my personal brand photo shoots, I always like to have bottles of gin with me because that's part of my personal brand. And yeah, sometimes I think Morgan wants me to leave the shot. He's like busy working with the bottles.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, wow, there's like I'm more impressed about how much gin you actually have. I'm like, wow, where does all this come from?
Yeah, Morgan wants to come and raid my gin shelf because there's a few interesting looking bottles there. So watch out, Kraken, he's on to gin.
I'm converting from rum to gin. Sorry, guys.
So talk a little bit, because I obviously want to get right into the personal brand photography, because that's where I love that. But talk a little bit more about the product stuff that you do, because you do really love that and you've got an eye for it, because I know that I try and take a few gin pictures for my Instagram and I'll get messages from Morgan saying, maybe just try this. And then I do, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit better. So talk to me a bit about that.
So when it comes to, I like product photography. I am more introverted naturally as a person. And I think what I like about product photography is that I'm allowed to go, or it gives me permission in a way to just go into my own head a bit more. I don't have to, I don't want to sound mean or rude or anything like that, but like, you know, communicating with other people and stuff like that, it is quite exhausting for someone who is naturally quite introverted. And to be able to retreat into my own head and just be in my own world, taking photos of subjects, is just different, and it's just nice for me. And it allows me to explore more creativity and a different kind of creativity, because obviously shooting products is different to shooting people. And that's what I really love about it. And I just, retreat into my own studio and I just try different, and I learned it all from street photography. It's just trying different things, positioning the products differently, how my camera angles are different, lighting, props that I use. The list goes on what I experiment with to create the final photos. And it all comes from really telling a story of the products, exactly like the Kraken shoot that I did that was just for fun. The theme and the story was the Kraken rising. That was literally it. And it's theming the product, the props, the setting, the lighting, everything around that theme to tell that story. So yeah, that's pretty much like my process that I kind of go through sort of when shooting product photos. It's getting a concept together and then reverse engineering off the concept to create the props, the setting, the lighting, everything like that, and to shoot the products.
And they don't talk back.
Exactly. I do like a conversation. I really do, but sometimes I don't know. I've always been that way. Even when I'm at work, normally, like I love just retreating into my imagination and just doing things. I've always been that way. It's funny, actually. I was shooting product photos, and a woman actually, she goes, "You went to Aquinas, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yes." "How do you know I went to Aquinas?" And then she goes, "Do you remember your teacher, Miss Oliver?" And I said, "Yeah, that was my art and computing teacher." And she saw some of my work, and she actually like comment, I always knew Morgan was going to be like creative. Like she was telling her like a bit about me, what I was like in school. And it's funny how some things don't change, because even then she was saying that even when I was in classroom, I'd have my headphones in and I wouldn't talk to anybody. I'd just draw and I'd just do my sort of work. So it's like, wow, that actually hasn't changed. So yeah, I guess that's sort of a secret weapon for me, I guess. So.
Well, introverts are the most creative. Everyone thinks it's extroverts because you see them and you hear them, but introverts generally, if you go back into history, even
I knew that.
Yeah, introverts and people with major mental disorders as well generally happen. Yep. Not saying you've got that, but yeah, if you look at some of the most creative people in history, there's definitely something in that. You know, I think you've got to be. Yeah, well, you know, to come up with something creative and not just the norm, you've got to be able to think outside the box and be a little bit different. And honestly, normal's a bit boring, so different's cool. So,
exactly.
All good with that. I don't know what you were shooting yesterday, but it made me want oranges. I was craving oranges after seeing.
Oh, that was for it's a brand called Lunchline, and they do like storage containers and like ice trays and freezer bags and stuff like that. Sort of just storage solutions for like your kitchen food and stuff like that. And he wanted like literally it was a breakfast theme. Because I wanted to test the products, I was thinking of buying them. So I thought I'll test them, and I stored like my so when I go to work, I just have like little jars of yogurt with some fruit and stuff like that. So I thought I'd experiment with just storing my breakfast in there. And then that's where I just came up with the idea of just doing a breakfast themed flat lay to just showcase the versatility and the diversity of all the products and how they can be used. So yeah, that's how I came up with that one. So yeah, literally just using my breakfast.
Oh, it worked, because I did want your muesli as well. I saw that little, I was like, that looks really good. So getting on to the personal brand photography, which I know that you're an introvert and people are not always your thing, because like your street photography is amazing, your product photography also amazing. You've got a real eye for it. Like I think it's you've naturally just got an eye for being behind the camera and capturing stuff. But you'd also take really good pictures of people, or at least I think you do, because I can use it.
Well, that's good, because I take your photos.
Yeah. So that is, because, you know, I didn't actually realize until now. I knew that you were very versatile in your photography, and a lot of people are, you know, I only do weddings, or I only do maternity ones, or I only do products or landscape. You know, they've got their thing, whereas you are very versatile. Was that a big jump for you to go into taking pictures of people? Was that a want, or was it more of a business necessity? How did that come around in the first place?
It was definitely I kind of just fell into it because, as you know, I work with Demelza Leonard. So when she needed branding photos and stuff like that, I never did any branding photos at all of anyone first before her, and all I did was street photography at the time. And she asked me if I would take some photos of her for like Instagram, LinkedIn, like all that sort of stuff. And I was petrified, I'll be honest. Like, even though I know Demelza, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. None whatsoever. And I've never been trained in it. I don't know what personal branding photography is, nothing. So we went into a couple of locations in the city, because I had like, you know, I don't know if it's a certain time of year, but they have those pop-ups, those activations where it's got the colorful rooms and they got different sort of sections around the city. So we went to places like that to do it. And the only thing I had really going through my head was apply what I learned from street photography to taking photos of a person. That's literally all I had. So again, how the lighting, the best time of day, different angles, using different parts of the city to create like depth in my shots and textures and things like that. And I brought like fairy lights as props. I brought just anything and everything that I could to try and make me not look like a complete idiot, essentially. And then I did it, and I actually, like, looking, like, I was not confident, and I just thought I got absolutely really bad photos, like really bad photos. And then I edited them in like my style. I gave them to Demelza. Demelza loved them. And then when she posted them, I started using them. She was getting really good positive feedback on the photos. And that helped build my confidence. And then I just started, again, slowly putting myself out there to people for free, just trying to do stuff and experimenting. And I just kept applying what I knew from street photography. That's the only thing that I knew how to do. And then I started watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts on how to do personal branding photography and what it is and all that sort of stuff. And then I just started building up a bit of a passion for it, really. Like, I found it really sort of fun in the sense that bringing ideas to life and trying to take like someone's personality and bring that to life through imagery, and having the flexibility, or a bit of flexibility, in being quite creative with that. And then I just learned how to refine the process. So like before, I'd literally sort of wing it, run and gun. And now I do a complete like mood board where like I send it to people, and it's like,
he does do that.
Yeah, we work together to build a concept, like what it is that you're trying to achieve. And, you know, I've learned a few things from you as well, like personal branding and stuff. Like, what are you trying to achieve with your personal brand? How do you want to look? How do you want to present yourself to your audience? And once you sort of get that, again, reverse engineering off that information to, yeah, take some good photos. So, and then now it's just fallen into the category of, it's now my job. I never thought it would be my job. I never planned on it being my job, but yeah, now I'm here. So yeah, I do a lot of it.
And it'll always be a thing, because
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says, your face is your logo and you're going to need it continually. And I think the day of boring old headshots is kind of done, because we don't just need a photo for a website. You know, it's not a slog where, you know, we're all told, right, on Friday, the photographer's coming in, got to get your photos. And we're all sat in front of a white wall trying to get, you know, the same photo. That's gone. People really want personality. And I mean, COVID has done us a favor in some ways, where we've had to go online a lot more, and we've had to show up a lot more. So bless you. You've got to get your face out there. You've got to get your logo, because like it or not, it's, you know, your business is second. Whether you work for someone or it's your own business, it comes secondary, because you'll get new jobs, you'll sell your business, or you'll start a new business, or you'll retire, or you'll do something else. You'll take someone else on. The business won't always be just you, or, you know, so your face is the only thing that keeps going with you. So you have to invest in that, I think. And, you know, I think that to get started, the cameras that we have nowadays, like, you can get someone to take a really good picture of you, but I just think it's the best investment to spend a couple of hours with someone like Morgan. I know people are listening all around the world, and we've had photographers from all around the world that specialize in this as well. You know, speak to them, go and catch up with them, because what's the difference is that, you know, Stefan takes some really great pictures, and with the phone that I've got, you can't help but take some decent pictures, but they don't tell the story in the same way. They just don't have that depth. And, you know, working with Morgan, like one of the things that made me want to work with you in the first place was how creative you are. And it's you know, the two shots in particular, Superman and the girl in the middle of the road on her desk. Like,
yeah, everyone loves the massage guy. Like, that's still probably the one to beat to this date. Like, that's, yeah, it's very hard to beat that one.
Yeah, I don't even know how I could. You're going to have a think, Morgan, how I can get something as wacky as that. Maybe I'm just a bit tame, but yeah, that shot was amazing. Again, you've got to go and check some of Morgan's work out, but he had a massage therapist as a client, and his superpower was making you better through massage, etc. So you literally dressed him up as a superhero, and that was the photo shoot.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
We modified his work attire that I don't know what, like the apron and stuff like that. But we wanted sort of pretty bold and poppy colors. So we got the pink shirt with the blue tie. The robe was essentially the cape. The apron was just a part of it. Then we got him like, I call it like a little pirate hat. It's like a little sailor pirate hat. That was just for a bit of extra oomph. And then we got him like a belt, which is like the Batman utility belt, which he'd put all like his oils and whatever else goes in there. So literally he's dressed up like a superhero. And then I was just going through each sort of superhero pose. Like, okay, we're going to do like Spider-Man. So I literally had him crawling up a wall, as in like, he's got a client up there that needs that needs a massage, so he'll get there any means possible. If it means climbing up a drain pipe to a building. It's so silly, but it's so funny at the same time.
They're
and
brilliant.
then, you know, as you said, the Superman. So he's literally running down the alleyway, like ripping the shirt open because, you know, as Superman does, and just going through what some superheroes do and just replicating that into like a massagey kind of way. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. Like there'll be lots of people that will look at that and be like, he's stupid. Like, I'm not going to go for a massage with someone like that. And you know what? It's the best thing you can do is actually getting authentic pictures of yourself, because you get rid of people who don't want to work with you so quick. Like, and so you can focus on the people who actually do love that.
And it was like, why, like in a laneway in the city? I was like, yeah, but like, again, if you're tying into a superhero theme, again, you know, when Superman rips off the shirt, he's running down the laneway to change into his costume. Spider-Man does it in some of his movies, like all of that sort of stuff. But it's more of the, you know, that story. That's the theme that we're going for. So, yeah, that's everyone's favorite. Funny enough, as many people laugh at it, a lot of people, especially on like LinkedIn, just absolutely love it. I think those groups of photos have actually brought me in quite a lot of work just in itself. So. That's again the power of being authentic in who you are and your brand, and showcasing that through images. It works.
100%, 100%. I love that. I think it's I think it's really novel, and that's why I wanted to work in the first place. And one of my favorite copywriters in the world, she has also Kira, her surname just now. She also has the wackiest images on her website, but you just get lost in the website. You're like, I have to work with you.
Yeah.
I need some of this in my life. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Morgan. So I'm going to put all of your details in the show notes so people can actually reach out and they can actually see some of these amazing images that we've been talking about. But what's next for you, Morgan?
Oh, what's next?
What could you possibly add to this?
Honestly, my goal is to just get one of my photos up on Kraken's Instagram or website. So that's where I'm sort of focusing on. But professionally, in that sense, it's just like growing my own brand, because I never, like a lot of people do, I never really thought about it. I never put much time or effort into it. It's only ever since having my discussions with you about personal branding and about LinkedIn and stuff like that, where I'm starting to push a lot more of my brand onto LinkedIn and trying to showcase my brand a little more, and accepting that it isn't going to be for everybody. I'm not like a corporate person by any stretch of the means. And just, growing my brand in 2021, and just seeing where the roller coaster takes me, I guess, see who I can work with, see what stories I can tell.
Love it. Thank you so much, Morgan, and I will chat to you soon.
No worries.